Early in the morning.
What's going on, the people? It's your boy Cam Topical Juice, and we are back with another disturbing video for you today. As you can see from the title, the Archbishop of Canterbury, one of the most powerful people in the church, especially in the UK, has resigned due to the latest allegations, and not even just allegations, the latest scandal involving the church and children. You know what I mean when I say the church and children. Unfortunately, this is a major part of the church. I did a video yesterday calling for God to come and save us. I said society's going down the toilet. You've got women sleeping with 1,000 people in one day. You've got P-stars targeting 18-year-old boys for content. I said, God, come and save us yesterday. And what do you know? What do you know? 24 hours later, I'm doing a video about the same people who are meant to be spreading the positive word of God. Instead, those people are corrupt, they are nonces, and they prey on young children. This is, fam, the world is in turmoil. Who do you trust when the people we put in positions to spread a positive message are out here using children sexually, physically, psychologically? Unfortunately, abuse against children is rife in Hollywood, it's rife in the church, it's rife in all different cultures and industries. It's scary. Anyway, guys, let's get straight into this video, man. I won't bore you with the standard intro. I appreciate if you like, subscribe, all of that. Patreon in the description. Video this weekend is Isaac Cappy. Isaac Cappy. If you don't know who he is, subscribe to my Patreon. You'll know soon. Let me give you a breakdown on the latest controversy. A lot of the allegations that I'm about to talk about actually came to light in 2017 when Channel 4 did an expose on the church. And it involved the Archbishop of Canterbury. It involved a man called John Smith. Now, this is what this entire thing ultimately is about. It's about John Smith. But you best believe he is not the only nonce who has been abusing his power his whole life in the church. So what happened was the church did an independent review. And it was a review of allegations against the church, but not just allegations, how they actually handled the allegations, what steps they did to move forward, and how did they safeguard going forward. This review was called the Mackin or Makin review, and this review uncovered some egregious crimes, largely against a man called John Smith. Now, John Smith was an old lawyer who also worked his way up through the church. He used to run and manage camps where young boys would go to in the 80s. After he left the UK, he went to Africa, he went to Zimbabwe, where he continued his abuse of children abroad. This is one of the most prolific child abusers in the church. And the reason why the Archbishop of Canterbury has resigned off the back of this is because this review clearly states and provides evidence of the fact that him, along with many other powerful people in the church, not only knew about this, but partook in a cover-up. The clergy covered this up. People knew about this. We are in 2024, guys. You're telling me no one knew about things that were happening in the 80s and continue to happen? By the way, John Smith is not the only person who did this. This is a network, exactly the same as Hollywood. As you can see here, the prolific, brutal and horrific abuse perpetuated by John Smith, a reader in the Church of England, was covered up by powerful evangelical clergy. The Makin Review lists the Archbishop of Canterbury as among those who failed to act. From 2013, the Church of England knew at the highest level about the abuse, the report says, but failed to refer it to either the police or to the relevant authorities in South Africa, where Smith died while under investigation by the police. The report concludes that Smith was able to abuse boys and young men in Africa because of the inaction of clergy within the Church of England. Smith was arguably the most prolific serial abuser to be associated with the Church of England, abusing at least 115 children and young men across 3 countries and 5 decades. There is evidence that he continued to perpetuate abuse in South Africa until his death in August 2018. Now, before I carry on, as I said, John Smith certainly is not the only one here. He may not even be the most prolific. He is just the most prolific who has now come to light. Another nonce who managed to live his entire life without getting caught. Only a year before he passed was he actually being investigated by the feds. But he survived decade after decade after decade of abuse against young men and boys. Some of the quotes from some of the boys claim that they thought they were going to die. They got beaten so badly, bloody to a pulp, and essayed so horrifically, they didn't expect to live any longer. They were so petrified of John Smith, and they felt so helpless that many either committed suicide or attempted. After deciding to resign, the Archbishop of Canterbury actually released some statements. It says here, Welby issued a strongly worded and highly personal apology for his profound failures upon the publication of the report. The review is clear that I personally failed to ensure that after disclosure in 2013, the awful tragedy was energetically investigated, he said. The way in which the Church of England engages with victims and survivors has changed beyond recognition, he continued. Checks and balances introduced seek to ensure that the same could not happen today. But I repeat, my apology contained in the review that I did not meet quickly with victims after the full horror of the abuse was revealed by Channel 4 in 2017. As the report says, no Archbishop can meet with everyone, but I promised to see them and failed until 2020. This was wrong. Lessons had been learnt in the past 11 years, he said. That does not reverse the terrible abuse suffered, but I hope that it can be at least of some comfort to victims. I can only end by thanking them again for their courage and persistence, and again by apologising profoundly, not only for my own failures and omissions, but for the wickedness, concealment and abuse by the church more widely as set out in the report. Now, while his apology does seem sincere and very personal, he is a liar. While he did come across as a progressive priest trying to fight for gay rights and gay marriage and all these things, right, which a lot of people were in favor of, but obviously a lot of people who go to the church were not in favor of, so I'll let you make up your own decision and opinion on that. But he is a liar. He claims he didn't actually know about this stuff until around 2019, but he was actually in the camps with Smith in the 80s. As you can see here, it says the Archbishop of Canterbury was a dormitory officer at the Iron holiday camp in the late 70s when Smith was one of the leaders. He has always maintained that he was unaware of any abuse until 2013 and initially denied that Smith was Anglican, one of a number of inaccuracies in his account which the review corrects. He told the review that he had been warned in 1981 by Reverend Peter Surtin to stay away from Smith, who was, quote, really not a nice man. The warning was vague, the Archbishop told the review. An exchange of Christmas cards with Smith and donations that he had made to Smith's ministry in Zimbabwe were not indicators of closeness, he argued. So we can actually see that the Archbishop not only sent him Christmas cards, he actually made donations to Smith's ministry in Zimbabwe, the same ministry that was actively abusing young children. That's why this man has to step down. Whether he's trying to feign ignorance or whatever, it's clear that he either knew what was going on and did nothing about it, or he partook in it. The best case scenario is he knew what was going on and he did nothing about it. The worst case scenario is he probably funded it and contributed to it. As you see here, it says, in an interview with Channel 4 News on Thursday, the Archbishop said that it was a shaming failure that he had not ensured that the matter was pursued as remorsefully as it should have been. He maintained that he had not known of the seriousness of the allegations as late as 2019. Asked whether he would resign, he said, I've been giving that a lot of thought for actually quite a long time. There's nothing over the last 10 years that has been as horrible as dealing with not just this one, but innumerable other abuse cases. Let that sink in. He just admitted that it's not just this that's made it get on top. It is the immeasurable, innumerable amount of other cases that he's got to deal with. Because this is common in the church. It's sad, it's sick, it's upsetting, but it is. Now guys, I am a God-fearing man. I believe in the higher power. I believe in God. I used to be a Christian when I was growing up, but I'm no longer a Christian. I take the good from every single religion because I believe in one God and I believe in my own personal relationship with God. You can believe whatever you want, but I don't believe in secular religion. I believe it's often used to control. So I try to take all the positives from Christianity, Sikhism, Islam, Buddhism, and apply it to my own life. I try to take the positives from the right side of politics, the left side of politics, the center side of politics, and I apply it to my own life. So I'm not cussing out anyone who believes in this stuff. As you can see here, in the UK, there are at least 30 victims. Some were as young as 13. Smith's own son was abused between the ages of 7 and 11. One victim told the review, I remember thinking he's going to kill me. I was that scared. One victim attempted to take his own life after Smith advised him to self-harm as a means of fighting sexual feelings. Victims were told that the ferocious beatings were an appropriate step in their Christian progression. It is already known that many people in the Church of England were aware of Smith's abuse in the early 80s. The Iron Trust launched an investigation after a young man grew so fearful of the beatings that he tried to take his own life in 81. The confidential report completed in 82 was written by a C of E priest, Reverend Mark Ruston. The Making Review records that 6 members of the clergy were among those who received a copy of the report and concludes that they participated in an active cover-up to prevent that report and its findings, including the crimes that had been committed, coming to light. So guys, I'm going to leave it here. This is truly alarming, disturbing, how much crime not only takes place in the church, but is covered up actively by higher ups in the church, all the way to the top, as high as the Archbishop of Canterbury. How many times are we going to hear stories of this? I want to end on this. When I was in rehab, last year, 2023. In my group, I personally knew and met and became friends with men who had been essayed by priests, both of them. Unfortunately, due to my life having a lot of trauma, their stories resonated a lot with me. I was like, wow, I thought it was just like a stereotype. Yeah, it happens, but surely not that much. No. Two men that I knew personally and met personally, I was in rehab with, were essayed horrifically by priests. This happens. This is very real. So guys, stay safe, stay blessed, stay vigilant, and I'll see you lot at the next video. Peace.